What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 10, our season finale of the Art of Resilience podcast show. I'm here with my main man, aka producer, aka the guy behind the videography, and really been handling all of this work. I'm lucky because I get to just show up and do these interviews, and my man does all the hard work. But I wanted to put him in the hot seat today and really just have a conversation about the season so far, what we've learned, why we started this, and all the good that's come of it so far. So welcome to the hot seat, my man Alex Pryce. What's up, brother? How you doing? How you
feeling?
Man.
I'm good, man.
Thank you, man. I'm doing good, bro. You know, honestly, I'm just excited to, man, like I'm very grateful because I get to work with a good friend of mine and learn with and grow with. We just spent the last half hour just talking about the show and
like we normally do.
Yeah. This has been an awesome opportunity, and I think we talked about it last year, and without his support, I honestly don't think I would have even started, because I really needed someone to, I knew the videography portion was going to be really important, because I didn't want it just to be an audible version of this. I really wanted to show the people, show their emotions, right? Like, there's a level to that. And I think, Alex, for as long as I've known him, he's always been into that stuff, into that world. And I'll let him share that. But, I figured, why not support my boy, get him on, see if he can support me to do this work. And man, it has been such an awesome experience since January.
It's crazy.
So
when did we start?
Talk to me, man.
When did we start? When did we have our first conversation about?
It was about this.
Yeah, you came to me.
Yeah, I was like,
and you were like, "Yo, I got an idea. I got an idea for a podcast." And I feel like everyone these days is sort of like,
everybody's got an idea.
I think I got a podcast. Maybe I do a podcast. You came to me and you're like, I think I got an idea for the podcast. And you're like, what do you think about having it in the van? And I was like, oh, damn, I never really thought about that. And here we are, man.
Here we are, 10 episodes in, bro.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it either.
Crazy.
That was probably like, I remember talking to you probably like June or July of last year, of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, there's an idea swimming in my mind, but I don't know what it is, like holistically. And then I think I refined it a little bit more of a concept.
Yeah. In
like October, November, and then
originally, did you have the idea of having it in, like a studio?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, but like I just was like, I don't know, I don't want to rent a studio. Yeah. I ain't got that kind of dough.
You couldn't.
Yeah, and it was pandemic, like heavy in the pandemic.
Yeah, who starts a podcast in a pandemic?
Yeah, and I really didn't want to do those, like, and I'm sure at some point we will have to, because I want to reach out to people that are far, like in the UK or wherever, in refugee camps, whatever.
Yeah.
But I didn't really want to start off with like the typical like Zoom podcast episodes. Not that there's anything wrong with those. Shout out to people who do them well.
Yeah.
But I just didn't feel like I could do it well. I'm a very personable type of person.
Maybe not the place to start.
Right.
Yeah. It's difficult to... Yeah, it's a weird place to start.
It's a weird place to start. So
unless you're doing a podcast that's like purely audio. Then, that's a different dynamic. But, yeah.
Yeah, what I told you, I was like, dude, I don't care if these are an hour long, 3 hours long, 50. Let's just see what happens. And that, to a lot of people, that let's just see what happens is very scary.
Yeah.
It's almost weird to them that they have to have so much structure. To be honest with you guys,
what could happen is that you fail, right?
Yes.
And so it's like if you...
But failed at what? Like, there's nobody keeping score right now.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't feel that way, right? Failure in your own mind.
Sure.
So it's in
talk about that though.
Well,
like, is it?
is there any other reason not to do something other than the fear of failure? If you could alleviate that fear, we would all do anything.
How do we alleviate that fear though? Here's the how.
Yeah, you just do it.
You just fucking do it.
You go in, you're still fearful, but you just have to do it. It really is volume over perfection.
Thank you.
Right?
You hear that?
Yeah, what I learned a lot about too was when you see someone that's successful, however you define that, in a space that you want to be in, there really just is no substitute for just doing the work. You just have to put the work in, and it's like, as hard as you think it is, it's much, much, much harder. And you just have to do it, and you have to do it, and you have to do it. And there's just no substitute for experience.
What do I want the most? I want to be able to go to bed a little early and just be up early. Because before 9 o'clock, it's my time. I could do anything. So if I can wake up at 5, that's 4 hours of like running, meditate, doing my prayer, eating a healthy breakfast if I can. I could do something. I would write. I wrote my entire book in the morning.
Yeah.
So like that, I woke up at 4:30, 5 o'clock for the last year and a half or so. At least 3 to 4 times a week minimum to write. And that was where it all came out, man.
Yeah.
And so in a way, that was meditation. Meditation doesn't have to be just you sitting down chilling. But it helps, man. It helps put things in perspective. It helps you understand what you have. You have your body. You have your mind. People underestimate those things so much. People think about, like, be grateful for the things that you have. Like, things are not necessarily things I'm just always grateful for. How do we work on the thing that we love? Like for you, for example, right? I've always known that you've been in the film, videos, movies.
Weird.
How?
When I started explaining to people how that I'm doing film, that I'm getting into film, I thought it would be a surprise to everybody. You kind of think sometimes it's all internal, and there were so many people who were like, you always talked about that. And so
That's a great segue.
It was like interesting, it's weird to think about.
Yes.
You don't know kind of what you've put out there already.
Yes.
But yeah. Look, if you want to do something that you love, you just have to do it. There's just you just have to do it.
Okay.
If you're having trouble figuring it out.
But you just said it. You've always talked about it. You've done other jobs. You'd never, let's be real. Like, you got into it, what, in the last, how many, 2 years, 3 years?
Last 2 years.
Last 2 years, right? But I've known you since high school, bro. You've talked about this stuff since high school. I've talked about art, fashion, t-shirt, all kinds of stuff my whole life. So it's no accident that I'm doing what I do.
Yeah.
And I'm a talkative person. There's no accident I'm here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I got a big mouth, man. I can't shut it up, If you're out there and you've talked about Legos half your life, if you've just been, our interests have always roamed in our mind, right?
Yeah.
And you may or may not have seen it for yourself, or other people have convinced you that another path is more valuable for you. Right? This happens a lot with young people. When I go speak and stuff to high school students, even college students, I see, and a lot of kids come up, a lot of youth come up. And so a lot of these, youth come up and they have visions of who they want to become, but the pressures of who others want them to become, right? They start to slam on against one another, and they get conflicted, right? But those a lot. I'm like, so when I ask them, so what are you interested in? Like, oh, I don't know, and they have fear around even saying what they're interested in.
You kind of, when we were talking originally about doing the things that you love, you just have to do it. You got to do it. And if you won't, whatever it is that you start with, whatever it is that you do, won't be the thing that you end up necessarily doing. You were doing t-shirts in your house. You know what I mean? I think the easiest route for you is Hussein's just going to be a clothing or brand artist, and he's going to make a clothing line, and that will just be the thing that he does because he's been doing it forever. We're in a podcast right now, about resilience centered around refugees. I There's a correlation there between the work that you're putting in with the t-shirts, but in terms of the path, if you would have talked to me when we were 18, I wouldn't have seen this for you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is so much bigger than I think what I could have ever imagined.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And in the next 5 to 10 years, I'm sure we'll be doing something bigger than we ever could have imagined as well. I hope that I'm on set for a feature film. And so the doing of it is how you figure it out.
Not overcome the fear, but just go in. Like starting this podcast. I think long term about where it could go and how awesome it could be when we have hundreds of thousands of followers. Dude, like I have an ego too.
Yeah.
I want to make money. I want to earn, I want to honestly, like I want to shed the biggest light on the refugee crisis.
Yeah.
But I'm like, how do I do it? It's that it's the Ruth quote, right? Like, how do you do something social justice wise that people could join you on? Mm-hmm. Right? Instead of like just banging pots and pans and just making noise. Like there's a lot of ways to do anything. But I'm like, how do I use what I can, the tools, whatever, to bring attention to this madness? But do it in an entertaining way. Do it in a way that's like favorable. Do it in a way that is like that people would want to join whatever we're doing for that, right? So
it's interesting because it's like you're clearly compelled to do it, but you're not selfish about it to where you're like, I'm going to do it only in the way that I want to do it. You're doing it in a way, and you're trying to create a format in which you're trying to bring them along. Mm-hmm. I mean, to me, that's what actual change should look like. It's unselfish. It's there's compromise there. I mean, there's so much work that goes into this in the hopes for the pure selfless reason of helping other people. I mean, it's kind of crazy when you think about it. You know what I mean? And to be honest, you're in such a niche interest. I care about immigrants. I care about homeless. I care about children. I care about all of these issues. But let's be real. I'm not starting a podcast about them. Right. I'm going and trying to make money in the career that I want to do.
Sure.
And along the way, I'm trying to help. Excuse me. I'm trying to help as many people as I can. But for you to do something, with the sole purpose of trying to help very specific type of people is...
Yeah.
Look, if anybody out there wants to really do some good, I think the format that you've laid out is fantastic. I mean, find something that means something to you and try and go contribute and do the most good for the most people that you possibly can in a way that brings more people along,
And so that's what I ask people, like, why are you doing it? Like, what is your gift? Your gift is you can hold a camera like no one else can, right? You can edit. What is it for? It's for this. I'm going to make this film, like I always tell you, right? Like, I'm like, what is your film about? You're like, oh, it's about this guy that's going to go through this and do this, and this is going to happen to him. Cool. Hero's journey. Great. Push it further. What is it saying to the audience? How are you going to transform their thinking? And if you're transforming it with your art, what is it? Where is it now? Where is it going to go next? And then how is what they do then impacted by your art? That's the deepest level of art, is when you walk away from something, feeling something, seeing something, right? Touching something, sculpture, whatever. And you now go like, you know what? I'm a policymaker. Mm-hmm. I've never thought about refugees that way.
But your work, what it does is it's easy to just say refugees or say Syrian refugees or Iraqi refugees. And it's thought less about, in my opinion, it's when stated that way, it's easy to envision them just sort of like someone will take care of them, refugees. But what your work does is it puts a face to it, puts a voice to it, real people. And, prejudice never really stood against perspective, and when you offer people a good perspective, it's hard for them to keep the same mindset that they have once they've been educated about something.
Yeah,
so,
man.
And if that's the way that I think what's unique about your approach to your art is like the whole end goal. All of your art is done with that end goal in mind. As like what can do the most good. You know. I'll say this. So what are we? What are you excited for the next season of this podcast show?
Yeah. To get this message out. I don't know, this art, this thing, and we've talked about so much elements of it to refine it, to get down to the point, you know, and to interview people a certain way. And like every part of it I love because you push me and I know I'm pushing you. You know, and it's hard work, and I know that. But I love when we're pushing one another to make something. Because honestly, this is probably the most collaborative art project I've ever worked on. And I call it an art project because it's what it is.
Absolutely,
and I love that, man. I love it, and I appreciate that. So,
I appreciate it too,
dude,
man.
like...
I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to...
So where it's going?
Man.
I don't know, man. Like, I think...
Do you want to talk about what's next for you?
Yeah. I mean, should we share with the audience what's going to happen?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I'm moving. I'm moving down to Arizona. And for a couple of reasons. Primarily for... I talk about this in my book, and you're going to love it. Just saying.
Buy the book.
Buy the damn
Straight
book
up,
when it comes out.
everybody.
But, you know, I look at reading so differently now than I ever did in my life. Ever. Even now that I've written this book, I respect authors. Well, here's the other thing I'll tell you guys. I took on a job to work with this company that I wrote my book with because I just felt so inclined to help other authors get their books out into the world because I believed in their mission so much that, you know, the CEO and co-owners of this company, their mission is to, you know, to basically say, like, everybody has a story. Everybody on earth has a story. And we want to help them write their story or bring their knowledge to the world.
Yeah.
And it's very true. You know, in a way, they're like, we want to rebuild the Library of Alexandria, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, bro, you're not doing that without me. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how, like, in my mind, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what my heritage and my whole culture is built on, was knowledge and sharing that. And so now I had to go through the process of what it was like to write a book. And that was excruciating. It was extremely painful to write a memoir. Yeah. Extremely painful, especially for me. I mean, you've seen me cry. Like, you know what I mean? With your help, bro, I think we're going to have an amazing season 2. That won't start potentially until May, because I'm taking some time off in April to move down to Arizona and make some changes, some life things, artistic move, if you will. I got to see, you know, everybody's seeking, like the Alchemist. I've been reading Alchemist lately.
Ooh,
the personal legend, right? Where you are seeking the next version of yourself, seeking the next, your treasure, if you will. For me, man, I just want to continue to grow. And I've lived in Portland, Beaverton, this whole area pretty much predominantly my whole life after we came from the refugee camp. So I'm excited to go to the desert and see what that has to offer, you know, in a way. Yeah. But I'll be back and forth, you know, for to record the next season back in Portland. And I'm excited, man, because I think we're going to have some amazing guests to interview in the next season. We're going to really we're going to bring this refugee thing around a little bit more, because World Refugee Day is June 20th. I released my book June 22nd. No coincidence there. And we're going to start this thing called the Run for Refugees, which I'll talk about and introduce at the next show as well, where we're going to invite many of our guests and people around, hopefully, the world to do this virtual Run for Refugees to amplify our work and to amplify awareness. And I think, there's a lot of projects that are coming. So I want to take April to really just, do our move, but also work on these things and hash them out a little bit more. And so I'm really excited because there's so much to do, but also a lot that's going to come from it. And I think where we want to take this show and episode or podcast is, as far as we can go. Like, I think the next season is going to be a more refined, more interesting, invigorating season. But I'll tell you this, man, like everything I've learned from doing this, from our guests, this whole idea of like uncovering the state of mind of resilience and how that plays for people has been so rewarding for me. I've learned so much.
Yeah.
And we also learn that there's a thread that goes through everyone. It's very similar. It's just tuned to their experience.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Resilience is one word, but we now know there's many definitions to it. And I love that because, it's just, if there's going to be a show about what it means to be resilient, this is it. Like, and we're just uncovering stories of people that we know. And I'm excited to get people that I don't know in here, to be honest with you, that I have no idea I've never met them before, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I always love that. I love meeting new people. So that'll be a focus in the next season as well. And I'm eager, man.
Yeah, I think it'll be great. I think certainly a lot learned in this first season of great stories, good experiences, learned about cooking and business and art, donuts, everything. But you're right, it is at their core, people are concerned with a lot of the same things on a day-to-day basis, just living the best life that they possibly can. It's been really cool to see that through so many different types of people and different cultures and different backgrounds, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, man. Thank you, bro.
Yeah.
Thank you for helping me bring this to life.
Yeah,
and for
excited.
continuing to help me push it into life. I don't want to give up on this, and I think it's going to be exciting for the next season. I want to have like 100 seasons and 1 million episodes.
Yeah.
I think this is just cool, and I'm excited to, to be honest with you, if anybody out there is interested to help us get a new engine in our VW van again, reach out to your boy. If you want to sponsor our next season, if you want to be a featured sponsor, please reach out, because any of those kinds of things help us bring more of these stories out into the world that could hopefully make us a better people, as long as we understand our stories. And again, like you just said, understand our similarities. We see that we're all in this together, and that we are truly all from somewhere. That somewhere is called planet Earth. And the more we understand one another, respect and love one another, I think we can truly make a better community, surely a better self, and hopefully a better world. I know that sounds cheesy, but that's really what the whole goal is, right? With all art and all forms of art, it's just to get us to think about how we can be better. And so I hope I've done that with season 1 with Art of Resilience.
Yeah.
And I hope to continue to bring this art to you guys with the help of my good friend Alex. I'm so excited. So we're going to take a month off. I may drop a couple of videos in there within that month to kind of keep things going. But we're going to take a month off from doing interviews. We're going to come back in May and hopefully bring you more of these remarkable episodes. So thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your support. Shout out to Alex. Shout out to all of our guests who came on here and changed our minds in so many ways. Thank you all so much. We love you. We appreciate you. Peace. Hey, wait. Just before you go, I have a little more to give. I want to give you a special discount code. But first, I hope you enjoyed our newest episode, recorded live in our Art of Resilience mobile studio. I want to give a huge shout out to our main sponsors, the Center for Retail Leadership at Portland State University. Look them up at pdx.edu. Also our friends at Portland Gear with portlandgear.com and Diaspora Coffee, an amazing company helping create jobs for refugees locally. I want to ask you though, are you struggling to build a good habit, overcome some self-doubt and fears, get focused on what you want to do, build a business, start writing that book and story, simply setting up some goals to achieve this year? Well, you need some habits. And in order to build habits, we need daily practice. You got to join the Resilience Club, which happens on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 7:30 a.m., where you are welcome to join for free and get into the best accountability club. Look, it's tough sometimes, and we don't have to feel alone in our journeys. We need some sort of push and someone to help guide us. Don't take my word for it. Look up the scientific facts behind accountability groups. You can join us easily as texting the word resilience to 503-461-1262. You can support us in two ways. One, by visiting refugees.com, poking around, and you may find a t-shirt or a poster that inspires you. You can use the code SPECIAL20 for 20% off. This helps keep our podcast going and gives back to the refugee community. Two, if you want to further sponsor our work and be involved with our Art of Resilience project, please get in touch through refugees.com. You can also share this episode and help us amplify our work to inspire and motivate. Thanks again for listening in. I hope to catch you next Wednesday for our newest episode. Trust me, you don't want to miss this.